I never thought I would be the kind of person who could look my own parents in the eye and feel nothing but a hollow kind of exhaustion. But here I am, and it still doesn't feel real. It all started after my grandfather passed away because I had always believed that the family stories about him leaving me something for my future were just exaggerated. Tales adults tell kids to make them feel special, but then the will came out and it wasn't. Until I turned 25 and it was written so clearly in black and white that I could see my own name there alongside words like beneficiary and sole heir, and I remember staring at those pages thinking about all the things that money could mean for me. Freedom from debt, a real chance to go back to school, maybe even put a down payment. And I remember my parents sitting me down telling me they would help manage it because these things could get complicated, and I was naive enough to believe them because they were my parents. And despite every argument, every late-night shouting match, every guilt trip they had ever put me through would keep them from crossing certain lines. But looking back, I can see now how fast they moved, how quickly they pushed me to sign papers. Tacked quickly, the government might take a big piece of it, and I let myself nod along. Because I didn't want to be the ungrateful child who accused her own mom and dad of I was working 2 jobs and barely keeping my head above water, and then one day I needed to take my car in for repairs, and I thought about that money and how I could just pull a little from it for something important, and that's when the first real crack appeared, because the bank had no idea what I was talking about, and the account I thought existed never existed at all, and the trust had been liquidated within weeks of to just a little something. It was a life-changing amount that was supposed to be held in trust, on a home something stable in a life that had never been anything but unstable. I still believed that they loved me in some fundamental way, that I didn't fully read how often they talked about taxes and legal fees and how if we didn't, scheming against her, and months passed and I stopped thinking about it as much because grandfather's funeral and the signatures on the release forms looked eerily like mine, but they weren't. And I confronted my parents, shaking so hard that my voice kept catching, and my mom cried immediately. Big messy sobs about how I didn't understand the pressure they were under and how they had just borrowed it and they were going to pay me back. And my dad got defensive, telling me I was being dramatic and disrespectful after everything they had done for me in my life. And I wanted to scream that raising your child is not some debt they owe you for the rest of their life, but I couldn't even get the words out because all I could see was every rent check I had struggled to make every night. I had skipped dinner so I could stretch my groceries further every second job and third job, and the knowledge that the whole time they could have made my life easier, but chose not to, because they decided their wants were more important. And the worst part was realizing that they had been able to look me in the face for years, pretending nothing had happened while I was drowning, so I told them I was done. I told them I didn't want to see them or speak to them until every penny was returned, and I knew even as I said it that it would never happen, so I changed my accounts, I froze my credit, I made sure there was no way they could touch anything else that was mine. And the calls started. Almost immediately at first, angry, accusing me of tearing the family apart, then quieter. Voicemails from my mom saying she couldn't sleep at night knowing I hated her, then messages about how they were in trouble, how they needed help, how they were going to lose the house, and I ignored them all because I had nothing left to give. Them not trust, not money, not even the energy to argue. And still they kept coming, showing up outside my work, waiting by my apartment one time, slipping a letter under my door about how families should stick together, and how my grandfather would be heartbroken to see us like this. And I sat on the floor holding that letter in my hands, wondering if maybe that was true, if maybe he would be heartbroken. But then I thought about the way he used to pull me aside at family gatherings and tell me that I had to look out for myself because no one else would, and I realized maybe he knew them better than I ever had, and I think about that a lot now, especially when the phone rings and I see their number and I just watch it buzz on the table until it stops, because I know if I pick up, it will be another excuse, another tearful attempt to make me feel like the villain in a story I never asked to be a part of. And yet sometimes, late at night, I still hear my mother's voice from when I was a child, telling me that she would always protect me, and I wonder how you go from that to stealing from your own daughter without even blinking.